Everybody, welcome back to This Pink Cloud. Hopefully you caught last week's episode. It was a doozy, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Good stuff.
Very interesting life you have.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad it wasn't a dud.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so definitely go back and listen to that one. But I guess we're going to be talking more about me. But we're going to talk about where the wheels fell off, that part. But real quick, fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, but that intro track was actually this track right here. Which I have a record for. I bring props now, but it's called Fine Ladies Only. And it actually came out on vinyl. I put it out myself, and I sold about 10,000 copies, which is a hell of a lot for, doing it yourself. And got licensed to a couple of mix CDs and stuff like that.
So the track that plays on the Pink Cloud is from this album.
From that record, yeah.
That record. Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Just fun fact, I just thought about that. So, real quick, I want to give props out to our new sponsor, which his name is Max Paderowski. 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 I got it.
Yeah, we appreciate your effort there.
Yeah, sorry, dude. But no, he's a guy I met on a retreat that I went to, and super nice dude. And he happens to be a personal injury lawyer. So I met him, and we were, when you click with somebody, you know that feeling. So we were getting along, and he thought that the podcast was a great idea, and that he was a big fan of it because he watched a couple episodes. So he's a personal injury attorney, and he actually wanted to support the show by being a sponsor. So he got the link thispinklawyer.com. So if you go to thispinklawyer.com, it's going to take you to his website, which is the Lone Star Personal Injury Attorney site, and hit up Max the Axe. Is his name, Max the Axe.
Wow.
But he's a super cool guy, and he will actually listen to you and actually respond, and there's not a huge gatekeeping process like,
the window witch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he might call you back in 3 days.
Right.
I mean, this guy's on it, and he's definitely all about getting you the maximum payout for any kind of personal injury
I hope I don't ever have to call him.
Yeah,
but I'm glad he's there.
But if you do, thumbs up. I approve of this message.
Great.
But other than that, and also please follow us on thispinkcloud.com, the YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe, and also share it with your friends, because if we don't spread the word, and the fact that any kind of that addiction can happen to everybody, and it happens to mostly good people.
No,
I
totally.
mean, there are a-holes that I have met in recovery, a couple, but for the most part, everybody's really a lot of times you wouldn't even think it.
We give you the shirt off our back.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Good and insanely intelligent people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's talented.
Yeah.
Obviously, look at you. I mean, the things that you've done. I mean, it's incredible.
Oh well, I appreciate that. And what were we talking about? Were we talking about the wheels falling off yet?
Yeah, so I want to hear
getting
about that.
there.
Now, what age? I want to kind of get a timeline back into this.
Okay, so DJing, first class, boom, all the good stuff, all the famous people. The road, I would say probably right after around 2005.
Okay.
But it starts declining just gradually.
Okay.
The phone starts ringing less and less, and the parties aren't the same. But then this effing thing called an MP3 comes out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So that really takes away from like this. When you're a little independent dude putting out this stuff, you know, and you count on this because every time somebody sees this, they go, "Oh, yeah, that's Kelly Reverb. Oh, always the red, white, and blue." You know, I always know the whole Texas thing. Yeah.
You branded
Branding,
yourself.
and
Yes.
you're an advertisement for yourself. Whereas if you put out an MP3, then it's like that's a good song.
Right.
You know, there's
No attachment.
Yeah,
there.
and I hate to sound like an old person, but I will here. But I mean, how cool was it as a kid to be able to look at an album and just sit there and go, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
It's
you know,
beautiful.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and you could read a little something about them or the lyrics that you didn't know. You know, I mean, and I think a lot of that you know, that tactile feel and that humanism got removed when MP3s came out, because then it was like, oh, it's a cool song, and nobody really but the DJs are going to know who wrote that song now.
Right.
So it's just like it was definitely a different change. And you know, unless you were like, you know, superstar level already, you know, you didn't always navigate that change, you know. So there's a lot of guys that you know, went by and just gave it up and went and got a day job.
Yeah.
You know, and but then there's a lot of guys that could withstand, you know, the change and everything like that,
They
because their name
adapted,
had
yeah.
already gotten big, and they were already established. So, and the thing is I wasn't established. It was kind of like I had, you know, I had my run, and I mean, I still play out, which is funny. Like, I mean, I played out like twice this year. But I just kind of do it as a vacation kind of thing now. I did like Orlando, and then I did North Carolina, and
Very nice.
go and
He's
just a
going
little
strong.
nice vacation with the wife. But so like as far as it going, you know, like the MP3 comes out, and I start the phone's, you know, quits ringing less. So I'm like, well, I'm still pretty well known in Dallas, and I can still get booked. You know, I'm selling out a little bit. I'm playing glorified. I'm like, I always call it wedding DJ. And no offense to the wedding DJs out there, God bless you. But when you're used to, you know,
Big
being,
crowds.
and playing your own stuff, and like, and being able to play your vibe and what you
More
love,
like a curator.
then then you get to a point where you're like playing the keep it shuffle. And you're like, dude, where did it all go wrong? You know what I mean?
No passion in playing.
Yeah. So I mean, so that starts happening, and I start working real jobs and stuff. But then eventually, it starts to kind of wane. Like, I mean, you know, and I start to get depressed about it, because hey, you know, I was here, man. I'm somebody, man.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you know, that's going away. And so I'm, you know, working. I've had like, you know, several sales jobs where I worked from home. So it was just cold calling all day. And hey, man, it's happy hour every hour.
Yeah.
When you're starting to do that.
I'd love to hear those cold calls.
Well, I mean, hey, they were real friendly.
I bet they
real
were.
energetic. Well, you know, you're talking to people from Texas, and you're like, that. You know, that car, I'd shine that car up like it looked like a diamond in a goat's ass. And, you know, like stuff like that, you know. And I mean, I guess that's why it was good. And
I
it
bet
kinda,
you were great.
It kind of worked. Yeah, but
Until
then,
it didn't, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like, I mean, I navigated this, like alcohol, I mean, somewhat successfully, I would say, for 25 years. I'm navigating it pretty successfully, but then it starts getting like, we get to like 2017, 2018, little pre-COVID action, where I'm just like, dude, this sucks, and I'm having to pregame way earlier. I'm having 2 drinks, so at this point, alcohol becomes, what I say is, it becomes my job. So I start having to nurse that hangover, right that ship, however you want to call it. I have to do that all the time, like where, and I didn't sign up to do that.
Yeah.
It just eventually happened over 25 years.
It tells you how to live your life now.
Right. And also, my friend Nolan says that alcohol is the ultimate slow play. And if you know what slow play is, it's like poker. They just nickel and dime you, and then all of a sudden you're bust. And that's what it was.
Great example.
That's what it was to me. And then even when I'm bust, I'm still trying to I've got to, but I've got to keep drinking because I can't stop.
You have to
on my own at this point. Yeah.
Do you notice, like, at that point too, like your health status, like?
Oh yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, at this time I'm also fully diabetic.
Oh.
So I'm talking insulin shots, metformin, all this stuff. Oh, and then I don't know. Yeah, I haven't shown this one yet, but this is this is a dandy. But I was about 220 in this picture, and we'll put it in post. But it I was fat, I was unhappy, and I was diabetic, and everything was it was I was depressed, and just life wasn't what it used to be, or what it should be. And the thing is what I always say about alcohol is that it's the solution, but eventually that solution became the problem. So, and it's just like I said, it became my job. So I'm doing that bottle shuffle. And I don't know if you know what the bottle shuffle is, but it's where you're taking you're buying the vodka first, and then you've got to make some look okay for your wife, so she doesn't think that you're just plowing through, which she already knew. But I was doing it to hide it. And then, of course, I'm a mindful alcoholic, so I would recycle the bottles, and I couldn't put it in my recycle. I'd go down my neighbor's house down the block, dump a couple of bottles in there, and do all that. And that's what the bottle shuffle. And I would stash things here, there, just so I'd always have it around.
So vodka, was that your...
Oh, yeah, well, it became,
Is it mostly vodka, or did you do beer?
I did occasionally, but it mainly was vodka. And
I loved it, too.
Yeah. In
the morning,
and I would...
first thing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right from the fridge, nice and cold.
This girl gets me. But if you needed it, if you had to, would you drink the hot vodka that had been sitting in your car?
Totally had to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Totally needed that.
Yeah.
But I was kind of bougie, and I'd want to keep a good amount of vodka in the freezer, or the fridge. So when I go up in the morning, I'll just take a nice swig, and you're good for the day.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about for the day.
Well, not for the day, but you started off really strong at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just kind of nursed it. And then sometimes you would nurse it successfully, but then there would be those times where you just blacked out.
Oh, for sure.
And then my wife is coming home. Bless my wife. But she's coming home, not knowing if she's going to find dead Kelly on the couch.
Yeah.
Seriously, because at this point, not only was I diabetic, but I was waking up where I would have like level 10 panic attacks. I would be almost aspirating, not on vomit or anything, but I had really bad sleep apnea. So I'd wake up choking and like gasping for air.
Wow.
So can you imagine basically waking up, and this was a normal occurrence, waking up like you're drowning.
Ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going on, and then what I would have to do is I would have to just go, okay, well, I'm just going to breathe through this, but in the meantime, I'm going to take a Xanax and
of course,
chase it with a shit ton of vodka, and then I'll calm down, and I'll calm down for about 14 hours
right.
on the couch. And
did you ever black out with the Xanax? Because I did. I mean, I couldn't tell you what I did.
Well,
it was...
The thing is towards my end of my DJing, I started blacking out at gigs, man. I started blacking out on the job.
Yeah.
And one time, that's cute, but
right.
2 times, dude, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to work here anymore. And then, that happens. But then then I'm like, oh, well, screw it. I'll just eBay stuff, you know?
Right,
So,
totally.
and then that's exactly what I did. And I did everything I could until just one day I was like, because, the word rehab had come up so many times. And I finally just go, okay, I'll go to rehab, but I'm not going to search. I'm not going to do any research. You got to call them for me, which thank God my wife actually did. And so I begrudgingly went to rehab.
So was that an intervention?
It,
your
well,
wife
well,
got
it
involved
was
there?
more of a straighten up or dude. And I was during this time, I was actively because I was like, you know what, fuck everybody. I'm just gonna go live under a bridge,
Of course.
And I actually was bridge shopping too.
Oh, good.
I was bridge shopping. I was like, oh, that might be a good little shelter right there. I like that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say that kind of stuff, and I would say that to my wife, and I, well, fuck
Right.
you, man. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. Because that's one thing. If anybody's listening that you're trying to help an alcoholic, you can't tell them what to do. And I always say this, they have to want it for
That's right.
themselves. They have to hit their rock bottom.
Desperation of a drowning man.
There you go.
And you want to talk to them basically after a bender because that's when they feel the worst. You don't want to, once they get their confidence up again and they're ready to hit, they got, their $20 ready to hit the liquor store or the dope house or whatever your thing is. You don't want to talk to them then because they've got their mind made up. But right in, after that bender, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's good advice. That really is. I'm glad you said that. But she was trying to get me to go all the time, and I was like, blah blah blah. I don't want to go, and then I said, okay, well, if you find someplace, then I'll go. So I begrudgingly went, and but it's funny you said they were on their way to the liquor store because just so you know, this is the kind of alcoholic I was. I had 3 different liquor stores that I would go to in I call it the triangle, but I had 3 different because I didn't want anybody to think I was an alcoholic.
And I was always having parties, always hosting people. I mean, these people,
Right.
I really think they didn't, in my head, didn't know, but these people knew.
Oh, yeah.
They had to
But
because I was buying cases.
Right. But
I'm throwing another party tonight.
But isn't it funny how we're just like, we know it's bad and we're like, it's like a child like covering up the fact that we're drinking all this alcohol.
Right.
But I like how you could do that. So you did that too, like where you're like, oh, it's a party, man. Well, do you have how many parties do you have a week? Like at least 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah.
And like 20 people at each party.
I'm a wedding planner.
There you go.
I don't know.
There you go.
Oh,
I'm a bar
man.
manager, and we're always running a little short for some reason. And
Yeah.
but
suspect.
so I go to rehab finally. Summer Sky. So shout out to Summer Sky. And I go there, and like I said, I begrudgingly went, but I'm kind of glad I went because I needed that medical detox. Because I always point out to people that's very important on certain substances, especially alcohol
Or Xanax.
that you're medically supervised when you're coming down off of that stuff. Because that can be rough, and you can have a seizure and die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
So, but the thing is, I guess what helped me, I was just tired of it myself. I mean, it's a job, dude. It's like, and it's more than a 40-hour a week job. It's an 80-hour week. It's a lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
like your life.
It is.
Because either you're in some state of flux. You're either not drunk enough, hungover, or hammered. Somewhere along that spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's just a hamster wheel that you can't get off. That you don't see as an alcoholic. How does 12 steps? I'm like, dude, how do these people do that? I'm like, how do you just quit? So I went there, and it helped that I actually paid with my own money.
Good.
Because then that made me pay attention because I actually wanted to get something out of it. And I found, like, when I was in there, what really helped me is they had these things where they would read page 85, and they would do
On Awakening.
the DPs, which is daily program or daily process or whatever you want to call it. But then it had a questionnaire that you would fill out with On Awakening, that part you would say, and then you do your daily process, and then at night you did the
meditation.
well, no, before
when we retire at night.
when we retire at night, and that's just on page 85, and then I would do that part of it, you know, and just kind of do all this stuff, and every day it was like, you know, ask God to help me quit drinking,
right?
So, and that's what it was, and that was just that focus. You can jump in if you want to say something, but just that focus, you know, was. Like gave me hope, and I was like, oh, I can actually survive and actually function without alcohol because you know, at rehab they keep you busy, you know, and you're big booking it and all kinds of stuff, and depending on the rehab, but you know, it was crazy because within that first 30 days, I got to wean off of my insulin.
Wow.
So 30 days, I'm talking less than 30-day window, a full-blown diabetic, taking insulin twice a day and taking my blood sugar at least 3 or 4 times a day. I got to stop taking my insulin. And then eventually, after my 30 days, then I was at a crossroads there because 30 days, oh, well, I got this shit licked, man. You know, you're at that point. And I honestly, I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself. And I was like, well, I'll just get out and I'll go do my 30 days, pump the brakes, and be able to socially drink, and everything's going to be good again, right?
Rehab taught you how to control it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly.
That's the only reason why we want to go to rehab, because I want to learn how to drink like normal people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
well, I had heard too many cautionary tales in there, and then I just start doing the math. I'm like, okay, well, I've been drinking for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I mean heavy for at least 15. And then alcoholic level for at least 5, man. At least,
it's not been a
if
long
not
run.
10. Yeah.
Yeah, our brains trick us into that kind of thinking.
she's a crafty little minx, that alcohol.
She is.
but yeah. So but then at 30 days, then I was like, well, you know, it's been a good ride. Let's just look at it that way, and let's not put pressure on yourself. Don't think forever. Do the day by day.
Yep.
And then you know, you can always go back to it. It's always going to be they're not going to do away with alcohol.
We can always refund you your misery at any time.
I love that. I love that. But so yeah, I you know, I got out and then start stacking days, you know, and then I was going to AA meetings, which 12-step meetings. Which were cool, but not, you know, I mean, I loved the community aspect of it, and I also did smart recovery with a group called Skate Straight. So I think, and then I also did IOP and stuff like that, and I also did my DPs, my daily process. I did that for like 6 months after. And I found that all these tools and these little things and stuff like that, but all these pieces add up to a toolbox, or they add up to a full puzzle, you know, because I, you know, what might be work for somebody might not work for somebody else. So
I love that you picked everything, like you did all of that, because I know sometimes, you know, certain programs are so closed off to one another.
Right.
And, you know, that's not we don't have a monopoly on recovery. No recovery program does. So, I mean, if you can take your pieces and run with it and put it in your toolbox and use it, and I mean, that's phenomenal.
Well, and I like that you say that, because like a lot of people are in a box, you know, they get put in a box or on a leash, and you cannot operate outside of here, and this is it. And if you don't do it, then sorry.
So I have a question
Yeah.
for you. Did you happen to develop a relationship with a higher power at this point?
I've always had a relationship with a higher power,
Very cool.
but it was like when I quit drinking, it was like that fog had lifted, man, for sure. Like, just honestly, like, I mean, you know how it is when you drink every day. There is a fog, and it's like I went from seeing life with cataracts on a 19-inch black and white on a 19-inch black and white tube TV to like 4D, a 52-inch plasma or whatever, whatever the cool TV is now.
8K.
Yeah, right. But it was just like and then it was just like that antenna.
Connecting.
Yeah.
Now you have a connection.
Oh, there was for sure a spiritual
Yeah.
awakening, and that's another thing I say is that I think I think I've done when I read the 12 steps when I go through and read them, I've pretty much done them all, just not in that order,
Right.
and then also not necessarily having somebody or. Because I mean, I thought I was a pretty good guy, but I made apologies where I thought were necessary, but I didn't feel it like, the part where where you talk to somebody and tell them your secrets that you've never told before. I'm like, whatever. I mean, it's any of my secrets are okay being secrets, and it's not like that I'm holding on to.
Right.
Some kind of damaged good that's affecting my current situation.
That's good. I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's definitely where, I believe there's certain programs that, they want it done, and it's so successful that way, and I'm happy they're out there, but it's also important, like, not everybody fits into that box. And so you're such a great example of that.
Why, thank you.
You're like, you don't fit in a box, basically.
Right.
No, but I'm happy. And have you been sober since you went to that rehab?
Well, now I have just recently celebrated 2 years.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah. So and what's funny, and I'm gonna. Where are we at on time, bud?
We're at the 25-minute mark.
Oh, 25-minute mark. Okay. Well, so let me go ahead and then talk about. Some of the things that have happened after getting sober.
Okay.
Because this was some heavy stuff. I've still been DJing here and there.
Okay.
Nothing like it was back in the day. But then it wasn't like I got sober and then life fixed itself.
The pink cloud didn't stick around.
Exactly. And that's why I was drawn to this name for the show. And obviously, please subscribe to thispinkcloud.com. But really, really quickly, like, I mean, the thing is I was doing positive stuff. I got my RSPS, which is Recovery Support Peer Specialist.
Yep.
And then also I started this podcast because this is my version of my 12th step.
Yes.
Yeah. So
carrying this message.
Yeah, carrying this message. So this is how I want to do it. And the thing is where was I going with this? What did I say?
The things that had happened.
Oh yeah.
After you fell off of the pink cloud.
Oh yeah. So basically. About 6 months into my sobriety, I mean, I'm doing all this badass stuff, and I have like energy, and I'm like, I'm not perpetually hungover, so I'm getting shit done. And then 6 months into it, my stepdad of like 35 years, so he's seen the whole, Kelly Reverb story front row, and so that was when I was, from like when I was like 18 or so. And so it was during the ice storm, in 2021, was it?
Yes, the
But
one
where
everything shut down, the whole city was
right.
terrible.
So here's what happens. So he already has heart existing issues, right? So he is at my mom's house, which is in Richardson, which I live in Lake Highlands, 15 minutes away
Okay.
on a normal day. Well, they start having, blackouts,
Mm-hmm.
and that means no heat.
Right.
And people on heart medication already and cold aren't a good mix. In case you didn't know that.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah,
That's very.
but so yeah, it
Lightning.
can bring on that. And then if you ever hear somebody with it almost sounds like they have like pneumonia,
Mm-hmm.
like when they're coughing, if it's
Mhm.
way down here,
Mm-hmm.
it might be something to do with their heart.
Okay.
Because
Like
I
there-
was like, when so I go over there. Of course, Mom, God bless her, she waits last minute to call me, and finally, I'm like, Mom, I could have been over there, 10 hours ago and picked you
Right.
dudes up, and you guys could have been hanging at the house. So. But then they wait till the the last hour when
Last
it's already
witching
when it's
hour,
already
yeah.
snowed over, and I'm like, well, Waverly, that's my wife. I'm like, I'm going to pick up Mom and Jerry, and it's a blizzard out there, so hopefully I make it. But
Yeah.
so I went over there and I got.
Can I just say
Yeah,
that is
sure.
what a good sober son does.
Yeah,
So
right.
congratulations,
Thank you.
you were able to help in
Yeah,
that moment.
That's true. I was able to navigate the roads decently, actually. So I get over there, and mom packs like she's going to Tahiti, and I'm like, you're going over to my house, which is 15 minutes away for max 2 days, and then I need this, and I have my entire back of my SUV full of stuff, and so finally I round them up, get them in the car, turn, and we drive to my house. So heat's working fine because I'm on the same grid as the Northeast substation for the police. So everything's great, warm house. He comes over there, and we have a nice guest bedroom and everything. And then he, I don't know, my mom always thought everything was an allergy attack. And so she thinks he's having an allergic reaction to the dog, which he never has before. And he thinks this, that it's an allergy attack. So, prednisone or whatever, you
Right.
take, and of course Benadryl. And so they get they're doing the prednisone and Benadryl, but that's not working. And I'm like, well, let's go sit in my car, and I can crank the heat, open the garage door so we don't get fumigated, and we can, maybe get, I'll turn on the heated seats, and we'll put you in a sleeping bag, and that'll help warm you up because maybe you're just chilled to the bone. Well, couldn't find out he's basically having heart failure.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So then I'm like, I'm trying to hurry my mom up, and my mom is the type of lady that would want to do her hair if the house was on fire. I got to do my hair first.
I like your mom.
And then she is.
I resemble that
Well,
comment.
no, but she's like
Yeah.
old school, and just
Gotta look good, and you're
right.
where you are.
You gotta look good in a disaster.
Yes, you do.
But so then Jerry's basically he's in the car, and I'm trying to hurry up my mom. I'm like, hey, let's go. We need to take him to the ER, and then like I come back because I'm kind of running back and forth checking on what's going on, and he's unresponsive.
Wow.
So then it's 911, and then call the ambulance, come out and grab him. I'm CPR in the garage. Hardcore stuff.
Wow.
And then he sadly, ends up passing away.
Yeah. That's
And
hard.
Yeah.
That's hard, and that's your first 6 months of sobriety.
Yeah. Hi.
Wow.
Hi.
If you can make it through
Hi,
that.
hi, Kelly. Here's real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and the thing is it wasn't necessarily about me, because I had to step it up for my mom
Sure.
because this was her life partner. This was her everything. This was
Right.
her best friend.
Right.
This was her driver. This was her errand boy.
Right.
This was her best friend. Everything. that you would have in a 35-year relationship. And, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, he coded like 3 times at the hospital and we couldn't bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
So then, there's and you're not even able to be there with them because it's ice apocalypse,
And you're not able to go to your solution again either, which is alcohol.
Well, I could have, but I was just like,
you didn't want your refund back of all your misery either.
Life was dealing me enough right then. I didn't need to complicate it.
Yeah.
But where are we at on time?
We are at 33 minutes.
Okay. And then so that goes on. We finally get, him buried and everything like that. That takes about a month and all this stuff. And then, my mom is learning to navigate life without her partner and all these things to her. And then what happens, she's not like giving up or anything. She's still optimistic. Like she got her eyes done. She got the LASIK done because she had been blind all her life, which I was so happy that she, got to see actually normal. So she basically, was doing stuff to better herself. She wasn't just folding.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is like during this time, and actually right before I went into rehab, I got to go into her house, and I found out that Mom was a hoarder, and not like a food hoarder or anything gross like that. But I'm just talking couldn't let go of anything.
Right.
But so she's getting all this positive stuff done, and she was always one of those people that dealt with people. Did nice things for other people, but when it came to dealing with her shit, it was just like
no self-care.
Well, yeah. And I mean, she just would always have a better reason than to deal with that pile of shit that's sitting in that back room or that's sitting all over the house. But she would almost like avoid it on purpose by taking on another bird that fell out of the nest. You know what I mean? Yeah. But did you have a question? Or were you just breathing?
Just breathing.
But so then, it gets to be, around Christmas time. And that's when, COVID's in full swing. My sister has COVID, so she can't really see my mom. And for the whole month of December, we couldn't really see her, and we couldn't even do Christmas because, I'm working in a sober living house where people are getting COVID left and right. And I don't want to expose, my elderly mother to COVID. So I'm not seeing, the gradual what's happening to my mom. And I did like nice stuff. I did the drive-by Christmas where I put stuff on the porch and did the
the
honking
care
away.
packages.
Yeah. And then a couple weeks in, I'm like, okay, well, I can start coming in. I'm not sick and stuff like that. And she's like, well, I think I'm still sick. But then it gets to the point to where, and this is exactly like 11 months after her life partner had passed away, and she ends up falling down, not falling, but like where she couldn't get up herself in the entryway of the hall. And so I go over there, and I'm like, okay, well, Mom, that's not good. What's happening right here is not good, and I'm not going to leave you here unless, you can go to and from the bathroom. If you can go from your bed to the bathroom and back with no issues, okay, you get a hall pass. So then I let her, do that for a couple of days. And it's not getting any better. And she's barely even eating,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's always a bad
not a good sign. And then finally, just one day, like I'm there and, I'm like, okay, well, she finally warms up about okay, yeah, we do need to go to the doctor. We do need to, it's not just a stomach bug or it's not COVID. It's something serious. Well, the thing is about my mom is she had enough knowledge to be dangerous, to where she was very informed about certain things, but by looking up symptoms in a book and all that stuff, you can't tell that your your liver enzymes are off the chart, or your white blood count still count, or your sodium count's low, or anything like that. You can't tell that by looking in the mirror or reading a book. So she finally kind of gets to a point, and I'm like, I'm not going to try to get her out to the car by myself. So I just finally just called. Well, I actually went into the utility room, and on the dryer was an oh shit stack, which had her obituary already written and all the vital information, which she had done because Jerry, had passed away, and she wanted it there just in case. So I see that, and I go, not today. And so then I call 911, and she goes to the hospital, and just over like a 2-week period, she just declines and passes away. And it turned out that she had it was gallstones, which the doctor had talked to her about. If we look, because Mom was a hoarder, so God bless my wife, she can do like the CIS forensic file thing because we have all the paperwork.
Yeah.
And we can go, oh, well, in 1991, this is when Mom allegedly became allergic to shellfish. And then this is where her sodium level happened.
Like
and
a
she
little genealogy there.
Yeah.
But on
And
the health.
yeah, and but she would and it's crazy because she would take these, the doctor would say, hey, this and this are low. We need to do something about it. We need to be proactive. And Mom would write them a very articulate letter back telling them why they were wrong. I was wrong. You're wrong because I was having, I had a UTI then, and that's why my white blood cell count was up. Not because my gallbladder's about to explode. But so what ended up happening is, and this is what they surmise, her gallstones, like her gallbladder got too inflamed and basically caused a blockage to her liver, which basically once that goes, then it's
septic.
Exactly. And then that's what happened. And when they got her there, they said your numbers are, so they put her in ICU and threw everything they could at her, but it's, too little, too late. So.
And how long? That was 11 months after.
Yeah, 11 months after. So 11 months after her life partner is, my stepdad or whatever you want to call him. And that's
hard.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
and that all happened in the first 2 years.
Yeah. And then, so where are we at on time?
We're at 50 minutes.
Okay, so I'll do the lead in for the next episode. So after that, one might feel depressed. After you have two seminal people in your life pass away.
Yeah. Your heart is just it. I don't care if he, stepfather, father. It's just you don't know what's wrong. Like you think like okay, well somebody died, but your heart's just not ready.
Right.
It just feels like there's something missing all the time.
And I didn't get the lead up either because both of them were surprises too.
Yeah.
So which is it's a blessing in some way.
Yeah.
But and I actually look at it as like it was God's mercy,
Totally.
because she had a lot of other stuff that she was going to have to deal with, and the house being one of them. Which since her passing, I've had Waverly and my wife and myself have been over there for at least 5 months solid.
Yeah.
Doing funeral stuff and doing will stuff, and then cleaning up the house to where it can, this is recycled, this is that, And so I got to a headspace where I was pretty depressed.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of research on NDEs, which are near-death experiences. And I started looking into that because you're like, okay, well, what's at the end of the rainbow here? What's after when we go? And if you look for it, you can find some answers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I found, and through my research, that something called ayahuasca can be, actually therapeutic as far as treating depression and stuff like that. So, it's funny because if you're, a big book thumper, you might not notice this, but what I felt is, as long as I use it as an entheogen and in a shamanic setting or quote unquote religious setting, that it would be okay. And that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Well, good.
Oh, the hanger, the cliffhanger. But
wow.
yeah, so but and the fact is we're also going to talk about Bill W, the founder of AA, and his LSD use.
Whoa.
So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that people don't know and don't want to know that might scare them out there. That there is maybe a therapeutic value to this. But I am going to, tell that story, and we'll have a new set of guests out next week. But I can't thank you for wasting your afternoon with me.
No, it has not been a waste. It has been a pleasure. I enjoy being on here, so thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you for
Oh,
coming.
wait, I do have to give Dan the man, my hubby,
Oh, yeah.
Dan Nybrand, a shout out. And Bella and Mom and all those kids that we have at home.
And then, again, thank you, Fitz, for engineering and chiming in and making me feel semi-famous still.
It was a pleasure, and thank you for. I didn't realize it's one of your steps having this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
it
huge
is
to get the word out.
Right. Yeah. And we also need to get the word out about Hello Studios. So if you hit up Hello Studio, what is it? HelloStudios.com.
I am HelloStudios.com.
I am HelloStudios.com. These guys are affordable. Definitely hook them up. And actually, Val the Gal is going to start doing one here. So I already brought you some business, dude.
I'm getting over here.
Awesome.
There we
great.
go. And also, of course, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, which would be my buddy Max, who I met. We're going to talk. We're going to get into more into Max's story next week. But go to thispinklawyer.com, and it'll take you to his Lone Star personal injury website where he runs the show, I guess. Yeah. And also, please subscribe and share it with your friends. And we're going to be back to talk about some stuff that isn't necessarily talked about in recovery.
Perfect.
That I think could be an important piece to some people's puzzle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there we have it. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. And oh, wait, I forgot to say my slogan. Don't forget, what is it? What does my shirt say?
There is no magic pill for sobriety. If there was, we would take too many.
There you go. Perfect. Thanks, guys.